There's another really interesting example, and this especially speaks to what's happening with agentic today. But Adobe is seen as a fast-moving incumbent. Unlike Kodak or whoever you might have a problem with, other incumbents were slow. They were not really fast enough. Adobe is seen as a fast-moving incumbent. It moved to the cloud. It shifted from desktop sales to subscriptions. It used the cloud as a channel. And yet, 10 years down, it struggles to compete with Figma because Figma reimagined what the design industry should focus on and work like based on the capabilities of the cloud. So Adobe's software is structured, and we use this word very often, architecture, is structured on a different architecture. And when we use this word, we often think it's about IT, it's about technology, it has nothing to do with business. But architecture is the way companies compete today. Adobe's architecture is file-centric. What that means is that designers work on a file. Once they're done working on that file, they shift the whole file to somebody else, and that's how the workflow moves. Figma knew that design was not about the act of designing, but that design was an input into many organizational workflows. And so the outcome of design further down in the workflow was much more important. And with the cloud, it could change the architecture of design from a file-centric architecture to an element-centric architecture. So on Figma, every button is a single addressable element. Now, so far, it still sounds like technology, it still sounds like IT. The reason this becomes interesting is because when you can start managing things at the element level, you can manage that element across organizational workflows in one central place. So if I want all my buttons across the organization to look the same way, and if I want a certain font to be used in every design, I don't have to keep giving PDF guidelines to designers across the organization. I can manage that in a central Figma library. So the first thing is it helps better governance in the organization. What that then does is that the budget for Figma is no longer coming from the design teams. It's coming from somewhere much higher because it's coming from product, it's coming from marketing, from sales, where design is feeding in. The final and most important thing that we don't really appreciate about Figma is this. It changes the nature of the ecosystem. So Adobe and Figma can have the same partners. They can work with the same players, open up the APIs to the same players. But in the case of Adobe, the partners can only make changes to the file. They can only move the files around. In the case of Figma, the partners can actually make changes in the workflow because each element of the file is individually addressable. And so it changes the innovation that the partner ecosystem can do as well. So the logos that you have on your site do not really matter when the same partners can do fundamentally new innovation when you have a new architecture.